Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to my show. I'm just Kira Davis, and I'm just talking about all of the things that I think could just save America. I am live streaming right now, I think to X and I think to somewhere else. I don't know. I hit buttons and then it goes out. I'm a one woman show. And as a lot of you know, I've retired my Just Listen to Yourself podcast. I'm going to be talking a little bit more in the future about how this podcast is going to shape up. And I have some older episodes that I already recorded for that show that will migrate over to this show. Yes, I'm looking at you, Mike Barron. I haven't forgotten about our episode. It's going to go here. Um, and right now, while I get up and running, it's just sporadic. But today is Charlie's birthday, and I thought I didn't want to let today pass. I really haven't let these markers pass since Charlie's death. I think it's really important to get on the record, not necessarily for my profile right now, but for the historical record in the future. I want to be a part of that. So I'm more aware than ever of making sure that I have a voice out there saying things when I think of them. So today, Just Kira Davis is dedicated to Charlie Kirk. It's October 14th. And today is also George Floyd's birthday, which I did not believe at first. My friend Bridget Pedicy posted, if you have a question about us living in the Matrix, just know that October 14th is Charlie's birthday as well as George Floyd's birthday. And it kind of blew my mind. But actually, it's why I wanted to sit down and talk to you today. Oh, by the way, shout out to the Telluride Horror Show. Telluride Horror Festival just wrapped up in Telluride, Colorado. My family did not go this year, but we try to go every year. We have friends that live there. We love independent film. And I and my daughter and I love horror film, especially. And if you have a question as to why we love horror, I'll talk about it towards the end if I remember. Right now, I want to focus on why I wanted to sit down and talk about Charlie today. I really did want to talk about this idea of George Floyd's birthday being today also. And this is something that's been on my mind. I've been thinking about it since November, but particularly been thinking about it since we lost Charlie. Because the way that things are moving along, the way that things are developing, I think, and probably the Butler event went a long way to this feeling among a lot of you, including me. I just don't think we can deny any longer that something bigger than us is happening here. Something bigger than an election cycle is happening here. And the fact that today is Charlie's birthday and George Floyd's. I'm trying to figure out a way to say this to where I don't sound crazy. I'm not sure that there's a way. I'm not sure. I guess this is why I have a podcast, just to work this stuff out with you guys. I think that this is us being shown two sides of this coin, two sides of this equation. I say this all the time, that the enemy cannot create, it can only imitate. This is why the enemy comes for our children, comes for our marriages, comes for the things that create life, right? This is why it all starts there. This is why they work so hard to trans your children in the schools. The enemy cannot create followers. They must recruit. We create. That's why they hate us. We are the unique beings in the universe as human beings, that we can create life that is in the image of our creator. That is a huge privilege. I don't think until we see what's on the other side, we're really going to understand the power and the privilege of that aspect of our humanity. So it's the enemy's goal to imitate, recruit. They cannot create. And so they can't create an organic, natural movement that is led by an organic, natural leader that is filled with passion and fervor. They can't create that. They can only imitate it. They can only fake it. And sometimes they fake it really well, and their movements are very successful. Let's look at what they did through the Obama years. You know, the Obama faked diplomacy really well, and a lot of people fell for it, but it was fake. It wasn't real. There was nothing underneath. None of the diplomacy was real, but then underneath there were no real ideas. The ideas that they really had were disastrous, and so they couldn't sell us. So they had to fake it. And when in the wake of Charlie's death with the whole Jimmy Kimmel thing, we saw Jimmy Kimmel come out and he suddenly was a sacrificial lamb, a symbol of a sacrificial lamb on the left. And a lot of us were commenting like how insane that was, how insane it was that they were talking about Jimmy as if he had been shot in the neck in front of the entire nation and his own family. They were talking about Jimmy Kimmel as if he had been murdered by a political zealot. They were talking about Jimmy Kimmel as if he were the real victim. And they went to protests and they, boycotted, and they did all the things that you would do if you were very passionate about a cause. That was their response, not to Jimmy Kimmel. I need you to understand this. They don't really care about Jimmy Kimmel. They don't care about each other at all. They just care about the cause. They care about the next job. They care about how they look. They don't care about, if Jimmy were to come out tomorrow and say something like, I think that President Trump is actually doing an okay job. We should look, he'd be canceled. All right. They don't care about Jimmy, but what they do care about is symbolism and spotlight. This is Hollywood, right? And Hollywood does represent the left. And so with Charlie, we had a martyr, a genuine Christian martyr and political martyr. And I think as time goes on, that's only going to become more obvious. And we saw people galvanize around his cause, his personality, his family, his politics. We saw people galvanize around that. And the left saw that and saw that that was powerful. And they said to themselves, we need that. And I'm not making this up. This is not being dramatic for the purposes of a podcast. How many articles did you read after Trump won about how we need a Joe Rogan of the left, which is hilarious because that was Joe Rogan. But he committed the cardinal sin of being curious. So he got canceled. But so we know that is, they're always trying to come up with their versions of. We need a version of. Conservatives and Republicans played this game for way too long. We did it for quite a long time. We need our own version of, and fair enough, I get why we did that, but really now I think we're in a position to say we don't need to be a version of anything. We can carve our own path moving forward. That's what conservatives have been doing in new media for the last 10 years, and it's finally paying off. The left is seeing that. So with Charlie, they needed their own sacrificial lamb. Now pre-Charlie, that was George Floyd. They did a pretty good job of shoving him down our throats as someone sacrificial. There was an argument to be made that he was somebody's son and somebody to, and a life that mattered no matter what. I made those arguments, when I was trying to help people see the full scope of the situation. Of course, I made those arguments, but they really tried to make him our sort of this symbol. And they did the same with Mike Brown and Ferguson. And the reason why those aren't lasting, enduring symbols, they are to some people, right? But they don't stand like a Martin Luther King, or these names aren't going to reverberate throughout history. And the reason why is because it's not sincere. It's not authentic. Some of the people are authentic, of course. Mike Brown's family, of course, they were authentic. Perhaps George Floyd's family, perhaps. But in that respect, yeah, these are lives that have value because they're created. But they weren't martyrs, and they tried to make them martyrs. And we just didn't really have a great response for it at the time on the right, because we were losing everything. I just listened to yourself, my other podcast. I really tried to explore those areas and bring people into that conversation. I really did try to get people to see both sides of the equation. How can we work to make this work for us, But I did that when we were losing. And we're not losing anymore. And I don't think there's a whole lot of value in trying to make anything work for us anymore. That was for its season, but things have certainly changed. Certainly after Charlie. I know I've changed after Charlie. I know I've changed a lot. So they want to give us these martyrs. They thought Jimmy Kimmel could be their Charlie Kirk, and that's how they treated him. Now you see how quickly that went away, right? We're celebrating Charlie's birthday today. He's getting the Presidential Medal of Freedom posthumously today. The left has already moved on from Jimmy Kimmel. I think they're preparing for their No Kings protest coming up this weekend. It's on the 18th. There's no king. That's why they're keeping the government shut, everyone. It has nothing to do with your health care. They want to take this whole battle to this big rally. Now they might have other big plans for maybe some surprises, some October surprises. I don't know. I don't think they're that thoughtful. I actually think what they're hoping or what they're believing is that this No Kings protest, talk about switching out symbols. Let's talk about this. Same thing. This No Kings protest is going to serve as a galvanizing moment the way Charlie's memorial did. Because you saw how the day of the memorial, and honestly the week of, and even today, there's things going on all around California where I am, and I'm sure where you are for Charlie, but the day of the memorial, I think we changed. I think America changed that day. I do. I know we're kind of back in the mire and the muck because unfortunately, even though we're missing our friend, life has to go on and we're back in it. But don't think that the ripples of that day, that the after effects of that day, don't think for 1 second that those aren't continuing to reverberate and have an effect. I mean, we really haven't seen. I mean, we're just in the beginning of this. We're going to really see, I think, some shifts in the upcoming election cycles. That's when we'll kind of see what happened that day. But I think everyone in America could feel that day was different. And I watched the legacy media channels that day. I wanted to see what they were covering. And for all their lunacy and all of their, their refusal to get it, that day they got it. I was watching that day, and that day they mourned with us. They did. Now they didn't take long. They went back to their ridiculous ways. But even that day, I think even if you were an extreme lefty, if you were covering that event, that means you had to watch it all. You couldn't watch it in clips. And if you were watching it all, you saw the reality of what happens when the right gathers and when the left gathers. When we mourn and grieve and are upset, and when the left mourns and grieves and are upset, two totally different things. If it had been Jimmy Kimmel that had been killed, God forbid, the left would have been setting cities on fire. Charlie Kirk was taken from us, and we went to prayer. We went to worship together. We went to sing praise and encourage others to worship God with us. America witnessed it that day, and believe me, it was a sea change for our nation. I do believe it. And I think that they saw that and they want to replicate it because they cannot create, they can only imitate. And I know it sounds silly, but I believe that's what they think the No Kings rally is going to be on Saturday. They believe it's going to be a galvanizing moment, a big moment of emotion and community, just like Charlie's memorial. And that's going to be a turning point, their own turning point for their own side. I think that's what they think is going to happen, that they just haven't had that galvanizing moment. And the way they looked at what Joe Rogan did and said post-election, oh, we need our own liberal Joe Rogan. The way they looked at that, as disgusting and vile as it sounds, that's the way they looked at Charlie Kirk's memorial. They said to themselves, we need that. We need to replicate that. We need to replicate that sense of community and passion and emotion. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. I mean, I can guarantee you I already know what a lot of it's going to look like on Saturday. It's going to be a lot of songs. These people and their songs. It's worse. It's not just that they are terrible. They're terrible singers and they are terrible songs. But that's not the worst part. The worst part is that they do things like they take gospel songs and then repurpose them. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. They're like, oh, this little healthcare bill of mine. I'm going to let it shine, whatever. It's blasphemy. It's so blasphemous. I mean, I just shake my head because God don't like ugly, and don't let me get in between you and some good godly discipline, but it's going to be on the way. God don't like ugly. But why are they always singing? I think they're singing. I don't know that this is a particularly revelatory thought, but I think they're singing because it's the old hippies, it's the old boomers. My mom and dad were one of them. My dad has since passed, but my mom is still alive. I guess she's kind of dead to me since she cut us off over Trump. But she's one of those people, right? But I grew up in that group of hippies. I grew up with them, and I songs were part of the protest movement. And I know we make fun now, but to be fair, at that time, that was what was effective. Just the way we have social media now, or memes, and memes are effective, right? They had songs. The songs were their memes, I guess, back in the day, and they were effective. And they won a lot of cultural battles. And some of their greatest heroes were folk singers and storytellers and musicians. And so all they have to lean on is what worked for them in the past, because a lot of those people never grew up. That's why they're still like going to these protests and laying in the middle of sidewalks and wearing bright colors and, like acting like children. This is why they're acting like they never grew up from that time. Some people did, right? Some of you boomers did. You guys are the ones that don't bother us. We like you. But a lot of and because they're in your peer group, a lot of them didn't grow up, and they're the ones who are causing us all the problems. And that's why they sing. They sing like kids, because that's what kids do. Kids sing. You sing when you're scared, or you sing to learn something, or even sometimes you sing when you're annoyed, or you just sing to entertain yourself. It's singing in public to get a point across is a childish act. And these are childish people. So we'll definitely see singing for sure at the protest. I'm sure we'll hear all kinds of horrifying stories that I don't think Americans are in the mood for anymore. I just see no way this protest works out to be the thing they want it to be the thing they hope it to be. I think what Americans see is that they're not going to work. That's what we see. They're not going to work. You have the true believers, and that's the problem here. That's the problem for the Dems. They're listening to their true believers, and they have been lulled by the death grip that they have had on the legacy press. They have been lulled into believing that they're the majority. So they have the true believers. They hear from the true believers, and they think we've got the majority. This is all just some kind of mistake. And we can fix it by just getting the American people out there to go and fix their mistake. And we will explain it to them. We just haven't explained it right. We'll explain it to them, and then they'll go out there and fix this mistake. I just think that they truly believe that. They truly believe they're the majority because they have allowed themselves to be fooled into believing that. And it's why they're so angry and so dangerous and so violent. It's not just that they're losing. I think I need everyone to understand this. And this is why Charlie died. And this is why they want us to pretend that Jimmy Kimmel is some kind of equal victim to Charlie. And this is why they're having their No Kings rally. And this is why they fly to foreign countries to meet with foreign criminals so that they can bring them back to our shores to terrorize our citizens. This is why they do it. It's not just because they have lost this year or they're losing this year. It's because they're losing everything. Do you understand what's happening here? Take it full circle to the beginning of this show, where I said Charlie's memorial was a sea change for this nation. Millions of people broadcast, streamed through their own phones, through national broadcasters, worship of Christ, declarations of the gospel and the kingdom by powerful men and women and regular, normal men and women, millions of us at the same time. I've been a Christian too long to think that that is not meaningful and that is not something that can change an entire country. I've known God for too long. I just don't believe it. I can't see what he sees. I don't know how this will look or how it will come out. But I just, if you were watching, if you were there, if you were sentient that day, you had to have known that something changed, and this is what they cannot abide by. They know not only have they lost their grip on the typical institutions, education, or media, they've lost their grip on the American mind, heart, and soul. They've lost everything. They don't have the courts. They don't have Congress. They have very few governorships. They don't have the electorate. They don't have the momentum. They don't have the moral high ground. Maybe pretty soon here, they won't even have California. They have nothing. And they have banked everything on subjugating us. And I saw today, do I have a clip of it? I don't think if I clipped this up to show you. No. Okay. Well, I saw today, I think Pritzker, JB Pritzker, talking about how when Democrats win, when Democrats get back into power, they need to pass legislation to prosecute ICE agents. And they need to start prosecuting these federal agents who are executing their sworn duty and the politicians who enabled them. I know you want to laugh. And the newscaster, I think I saw it on Fox, and whoever read it laughed about it. I think it was Varney, actually. He kind of chuckled at it. It's chuckle worthy. I get that, but don't be too flippant about it. I think if we've learned anything by now, we should take Democrats seriously when they talk dangerously. They can't win. They can't ever win again. We can't let them win. I mean, I know I say ever win again. Eventually, some point, they'll have to win. Hopefully by that time, they'll have reformed themselves into some semblance of normal Americans. But there's no way, we can't let them win next year. We can't go back to business as usual and we do this flippity flop where we get the president and then the Congress flips. No, we can't go back to business as usual. We can't go back to doing things the old way. Now is time for boldness. Now is time for risk taking. Now is time to put down the enemy. Truly. We can't let them win, because if they win, they're going to finish the job that they started. Only now they're super pissed. Now they're really mad because they see that we get them. We see them now. They're not just mad, they're scared. That makes them dangerous. They will never let us win again. They can't win. They cannot win. So everything that Trump's doing, I know it makes you nervous. I know you say, okay, I don't understand what Trump's doing maybe in the Middle East, or I don't understand what he's doing with the deportations. I see MTG peeling off on that. I have thoughts. Guys, there's a lot of money floating around the podcast universe. None of it so far has made its way to the shores of this show. I'd be interested to take offers, though, if you have any. But you know what I mean? There's money flying around, and money does things to people. If you are wondering why some people just suddenly flip on stuff, you should always follow the money. It's more seductive than you think it is, even for people that you think are successful. Anyways, all that being said, we're seeing people like MTG get a little nervous, and we're not. I get it. People have questions, the tariffs, all that. Trump is employing a holistic approach to this. He understands he has 4 years to get stuff done, 2 guaranteed with a Congress, and hopefully we can give another 2. He's got to go balls to the wall. It's scorched earth, because he's not just righting the wrongs of the last administration. He's shifting an entire culture so that we never have to go back to where we were. This is why it's important to hold people like Letitia James accountable. Did you see that clip the other day? I think it's CNN, and they were saying, well, look, they're pinging her for mortgage fraud, but everyone commits mortgage fraud. This is the problem. This is a problem where we've just sort of accepted that there's some certain base level of corruption in the halls of our government, and we all have to accept it. We just all have to live this way. It's like Seth Rogen telling someone who dared to complain on Twitter one day about his car being broken into in Los Angeles for the 5th time. And the actor, Seth Rogen, saying, oh, well, everybody who lives in LA knows you don't keep anything on your front seat. Don't keep anything in your car that can be stolen. Victimizing the victim. Again, this is idea. Well, this is just normal. This is how it is. This is how we live. We don't have to live like this. And this is the other reason why they're fighting so hard, because everything Trump does proves to Americans that you can do something. And we don't have to live this way. If you want to broker peace in the Middle East, you can be bold about it and do it. You just don't do it the way that it's been done for 75 years. Get some fresh ideas. If you want to make Washington, D.C. safe, you can make it safe. If you want to make Memphis a place where people can walk down the street at night and feel safe, you can do it. Like, he's proving that if you want to close the border, you can close it. Turns out it ain't nothing but a word. You know what I mean? That's why the left can't stand Trump. That's why they hate him. He's right when he says, it's not me they hate, it's you they hate. Him they hate for being effective. Us they hate for noticing. We're not supposed to notice that you can get stuff done, because all they want to do is run on your problems. This is why I left the Democrat Party 20 plus years ago. Serving in my community, serving my community exclusively, my Black community exclusively, and realizing that everything the Democrats had sold to me my entire life, it doesn't work. In fact, it does the opposite. It makes things worse. It harms us. Like, I can never go back to voting that way again. Everything they do makes things worse, and people notice. And when they notice, they leave, which is what happened to me, and countless other people have my story. They're scared. It's not just that they're losing at the ballot box. They're losing you. They're losing your heart and mind. They have to run on problems. They have to run on never being able to fix anything. So you'll keep voting for them. That's why they have to keep telling us that racism is so bad and racism is going to destroy America and racism is the number one problem. And most of us don't think about race during the day at all. The only time we think about it is when we turn on the TV and someone on the TV tells us you should be thinking about race. They want to keep us sick. They want to keep us upset. They want to keep us poor. They want to keep us angry. They want to keep us enslaved. Or they want to keep us, or they want us to be dead. Really. I think that's the realization that I came to after November, and then specifically after Charlie. And I saw how many people who called themselves my friends and even my family on social media celebrating it. I realized they would celebrate my death, and maybe not me totally. Maybe they would be sad because they know me, but someone I love. Actually, no, I actually believe if someone shot me because of my political beliefs, I believe most of my liberal family and friends would say, well, I'm sad Kira's gone, but that's kind of how it goes. She kind of asked for it. You can't work with that. My Just Listen to Yourself podcast is a persuasion podcast. It's a critical thinking podcast. It's aimed at the idea that if you help people think through their thoughts and ideas and beliefs, that you can create a more comfortable atmosphere to share discussion and share ideas. And you know what? Didn't do anything. These people are murderous. This ideology is murderous. Is there room for people to see and come over? Of course. I'm talking about the establishment. I'm talking about the people who kind of run things or kind of disseminate the talking points and the propaganda. Why do we need, this idea like, we need Congress to compromise and come together and work together on what? They want us dead. Pritzker has basically said as much. He wants to arrest officers of the law officers of the law who are doing their job as outlined by the Constitution, as outlined by their very job description and their commander-in-chief. He listened to what this is, a governor of a state in the union. And he is saying, I think we should arrest law enforcement for enforcing the law. It's not just funny. It's incredibly dangerous. We need to take them seriously. When these people say words are violence, they freaking mean it. Today is Charlie's birthday, and I want to remember him well. And I think there are a lot of people in his direct peer group, in his direct circle, his wife and his good friends and the people who knew him best. A lot of people who are saying, and I think rightfully so, that we should take up Charlie's mantle of grace and open arms and offering a place and a home for people to discuss things openly and honestly and safely. And a lot of that group, that's what they're saying. Take on Charlie's mission. And I have to say that I don't think that's the Gen X mission right now. And people who listen to my podcast for 5 years are probably going, wow, can't believe I'm hearing that from Kira. But I think this is a Gen X thing, actually. I think this is a Gen X thing. For a woman like me, Charlie, the idea of Charlie, I'm not trying to make our relationship something that it wasn't, but, the idea of Charlie, that he's like a son. I'm old enough to be his mother. I'm old enough to be the mother of a lot of people in his peer group, in that crowd. And a lot of men and women in my age group, in Gen X, feel that way. So we feel towards what happened to Charlie the way that many parents would feel towards something like that happening to their own adult child. And we are no longer in the mood to throw up our hands and say, well, it's just how it is, or to be gracious. That's for someone else. I'm not saying it doesn't need to be done. I'm just saying perhaps that's your calling. I don't know that I have it anymore. Charlie's gone and everything is crazy, and these people are crazy. They're like talking about killing us. They're talking about arresting law enforcement when they win. So we can't let them win. And that's just that. That's where I am. And so I think in order to be in that mindset, you have to be in a mindset of, I'm willing to crack some eggs. I'm not really so much in the mood to persuade anymore. So if that's your calling, great. And I hope that it is successful. I don't feel I'm there anymore. As we think about Charlie today and we remember him and we think about what his life meant to us on his birthday, I just think we're in a different season in America, and everybody's got a job to do. Everybody's got a lane to get in, and you should figure out what lane that is and get in it. But I don't think I'm in the persuasive mood anymore. I think I kind of want to just put down whatever madness is going on the left and then move on and let Z and Alpha put the pieces back together. And good luck to us all, because Alpha's going to be the scary generation. I'm going to tell you what. You think Gen X is bad? Alpha's going to be worse. They're going to be worse. I don't think I'll care. I'll be old, and also I think Alpha's going to be kind of right-wing. I think it'll be a right-wing that we won't necessarily love in a lot of ways, because I do think we're heading for a massive overcorrection. I do. And that's how it goes. But it is what it is. That's just my opinion as well. I think I'm going to be fine because I'm on the right. And so I think whatever strange conservative things happen, I think I'll be fine with it. And then I'll die. So that's that. It's time to close this out. So let's close it out on a positive note, not talking about all the bad things. But I do want to I do want to close out the way I began, which is with this idea that the left is trying to imitate what I don't even want to say what the right has created. I want to say what God has created. They want to imitate it. And you're gonna see this. They're gonna keep trying to give us martyrs. They're gonna keep trying to do that for quite a while. And I know this sounds morbid, but I honestly, I wouldn't even put it past them to set up some kind of violent event that would affect a left. Now, none of them are brave enough to put their own lives at risk. That I don't believe, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of them tried to set something up. We're going to see it. It's never going to last though, because it's not real. None of it's real. None of what they're doing is real. That's why Kamala failed so spectacularly, because even the people on her side could see how fake she is. Everyone can see how fake everything they do on the left is. Even their martyrs are fake. Even their praise and worship events are fake. They're fake. Charlie was real. And I also want to say this about all of this. I know Candace is out there doing stuff, and I've got words about that. But I don't want to muddy this. I know I know all of you are like, oh, Charlie was doing this, and was he backing up on Israel? Did Israel kill him? And just all this stuff. And I just want you to know, I just want to say that Charlie was a real person. And it's so bizarre to see someone that you knew in real life be martyred, and then suddenly everyone turn him into this cardboard cutout. It's so crazy. And I'm not saying that, I'm just realizing I'm like that too, right? I look at our political figures like a Martin Luther King, or someone who's passed on, even like a John Adams. I might have these like cardboard cutout ideas. They're not real people. They're avatars. And to see someone you actually knew suddenly be turned into an avatar, it's super weird. It's super weird. And then all of you people out there have all these conspiracy theories. And I'm like, imagine you know your life. You know exactly who you are and what you are right now. Imagine you die tomorrow and somehow you're privy to the idea that suddenly there's this big conspiracy theory that Marco Rubio sent a German hit squad to kill you, whatever, that there was this, and suddenly Candace Owens is talking about it, and suddenly this influencer is talking about it, and there's all these rumors about maybe money that your family got. Suddenly they're analyzing every text message that you ever sent. Remember that jokey text message you sent to your cousin calling him a commie? Suddenly they're investigating the cousin. What communist ties does he have? And then whenever somebody goes, oh no, Bob, it was just Bob, this is crazy, how can you even say this? Whenever somebody says that, then people go, oh yeah, you're just sold out, or you can't, you need to wake up. You can't. It's so freaking weird. Charlie was a real person with real thoughts and feelings, real nuances. He was a person who had inside jokes and inside relationships that speak their own languages that people outside can't understand and don't know. Think about the private language you share with your spouse or your brother or sister. You have events and experiences that inform the way you communicate. He was that person. He was real. He laughed and he lived. He loved. He cried. He disagreed. He had arguments. He was growing and changing. He's not an avatar. And there's no grand conspiracy to his life. The grand conspiracy is that God had a plan for him and set him on this earth to execute the plan, and he did. Now the whole world is talking about Jesus. That's the conspiracy. Leave the rest of it out, for God's sake. I don't want any part of it. I don't want any part of it. I don't want any part of whatever bullshit Candace is putting out there. I don't want any part of whatever questions you have about how do you feel about Israel or Netanyahu or whatever. I don't want any part of it. Charlie has more than enough on record for us to know what he thought and felt and who he was as a human being. Don't make him an avatar. I won't play a part in it, and I won't participate in those discussions any longer. I'm sick of it, actually. I'm sick of it. And you could let the grifters grift. I'm not saying deplatform any. Let the grifters grift. Let them do what they do. Let it be a lesson. Let it be a lesson. In this business, not everyone who says they're your friend are your friend. In fact, most people aren't. And be careful what you text people. I mean, and that's a, I'm looking in the mirror saying that. Because I don't think that way. And I think most of us don't. But look what happens. And then suddenly people are making up crazy conspiracies about your very real, very, in a lot of ways, regular life. I mean, Charlie wasn't a regular guy, but he had a regular life in a lot of aspects, wife, kids, family. So it seems weird to be remembering Charlie today. It's really weird to think that he's not. That's it. There's no new Charlie stuff. There's no new things for me to fuss at him about. I did a lot of fussing at Charlie. People who know me, no new things to fuss about. It's really weird. But today we honor Charlie, and I'm glad that in some small way I got to know a little bit about him and say that I knew him. And I wish I could, see him one more time, say sorry for all the fussing I did. I actually did. We did kind of laugh about that the last time I saw him. He did rib me about always giving him a hard time on Twitter, and we laughed about it. So I guess I kind of did, but I guess I'll say this, that I'm grateful that he was here. I'm grateful that we got to experience this, and I'm grateful for the legacy he leaves. And now it is up to us to build on that legacy. I think that is happening. And I think the most important aspect of that legacy is revival. I think Charlie would agree. I think that is the one thing that is going to ensure our success and victory moving forward. All your other stuff, get out to vote, no on Prop 50, turn in your ballots, all that stuff. But also revival, coming back to basics, coming back to the kingdom, coming back to the understanding that we have been set here for a particular time, for a particular purpose. And if we serve the one who purposes the purpose in the first place, if we serve him, then we cannot lose. If God is for us, who can be against us? All right, follow me everywhere. Real Kira Davis on Twitter, Just Kira Davis on Instagram. That's JUST Kira Davis on Instagram, justkiradavis.com for all of your reading. And thanks for listening. I'm Just Kira Davis, and I'm just talking about the things that I think can save America. Happy birthday, Charlie.